1-star reviews.
Contagion.
Contagion is dumb. Quarantine yourself in the comments.
Complete waste of time. Bland like boiled chicken. My wife and I are fans of these types of movies. Have seen many. This one falls in line with the core and snakes on a plane. What a disaster. Great cast that acted like garbage. Fishburne and Damon were very bland. Paltrow was a cameo at best and Law was just bad. The movie started out as so many of this type. Something happens that promises to change life as we know it or outright destroy it. Okay. Promising. However, very quickly the movie starts to drag badly. There is no continuity whatsoever. Characters who you begin to sympathize with just don't go anywhere. So here is the movie in a nutshell. Spoiler alert: a killer virus plagues the world. People die. A vaccine is developed. People live. That's it. Honestly, with an estimated $60 million budget they could have done a lot more. The visuals were poor. The acting bland. The plot. What plot? Wait for the DVD. But better yet, don't waste your time at all.
Where is the second half of the movie? I went into this movie with high expectations. I was pleased for nearly the entire film, as it is very thorough and in-depth. The character acting is spot on, and each provide believable performances. There are two major issues with this film. However, one, they try to put entirely too many plot threads into the film. Despite them being relatively easy to follow, it does lead into the second issue. Point 2, there is no ending. The film abruptly ends. It basically closes none of the threads which it opens, and answers none of the questions it poses. The entire audience sat there for 2 minutes after the film, expecting to see the rest of the movie spliced back in. It really is as though they ran out of steam halfway through writing this film and completely gave up. As an actor, I'm honestly quite surprised that none of them read the script and asked, "Where's the rest? Skip it." You'll only be disappointed. Really bad. I had high expectations going in with the star-studded cast and a good IMDB rating. The film turned out to be very disappointing. The plot jumps around a ton, and because of it it's hard to get a sense of uniqueness and continuity for the characters. Things happen in the movie that are just stupid because a couple times the conclusions are pointlessly left hanging. Other times they seem to backtrack. The acting is pretty bad all around, which was surprising. The girl that played Matt Damon's daughter just sucked. The ending was very anticlimactic and somewhat silly, making the whole movie seem quite random. I didn't get a sense at any point that there was a lot of passion put into making this film. There's hardly any action, contrary to its billing as an action thriller. If they would have added a little more mayhem, guns, boobs, and explosions, it would have compensated for the drab and one-note tones in the movie a little bit. A lot of the characters are outrageously dumb. Like Gwyneth Paltrow's character, it's a highly predictable plot with few twists. It keeps your attention most of the way. I'll give it that, but it really wasn't what I was looking for.
Overlong propaganda piece. This film should have been amazing. The acting was quite good. It should have been everything Outbreak wanted to be 15 years ago. The tragedy is that it took exactly 10 minutes to realize that it was just a propaganda piece. Oh no. If we don't go green, the world will end. The story is dull beyond imagination. At no point was there even the vaguest sense of suspense. Everything was entirely predictable, and the worst part is that unlike other post-apocalyptic films that have played the humdrum slow-moving suspense to great effect, I'm thinking of The Book of Eli and, to a lesser degree, I Am Legend. This just laid flat. You'd really do better to save 2/3 of your time and just get Michael Moore to direct something for the History Channel, please. Please don't waste your time.
Talkative, slow and very boring. Contagion is an incredibly tedious, slow, talkative movie that gets nowhere. A virus sweeps the world. Characters are introduced. You don't learn anything about them as people. You don't care about them. Matt Damon walks around as if he's busy learning the script for his next film. He looks totally disinterested, and who can blame him? It's hardly a part to get your teeth into. Not that Matt can act anyway. Also, we have Gwyneth Paltrow in an almost non-speaking role. Kate Winslet rushes about trying to look concerned, and trying even harder to do a convincing American accent. She fails miserably on both counts, but worst of all is Jude Law, who plays an Australian journalist. He's trying to do the accent too, and he fails. Sounded like a Cockney Barrel Boys accent gone wrong. All in all, a dismal movie that should be avoided. Well, I watched about 55 minutes then gave up. Whizzed through to the end and even the ending was boring, 1/10.
CDC propaganda and just plain bad. I actually signed up for an IMDB account just to give this film a horrible review. It is chock full of propaganda attempting to convince the watcher that the CDC should be trusted. That vaccines will save you. And that you should not trust bloggers who attempt to tell people not to take vaccines, this parallel to the real globalist plan to use vaccines as a soft kill method on populations in a time of manufactured crisis. So that we are forced to take poisonous vaccines against our will. Because the policy makers know best. Don't listen to alternative media or your own intuition, just do what the government tells you to do. Be scared and take your vaccines, besides being a despicable propaganda film. The movie is just bad movie. The acting is subpar. While the story of how the alleged disease was started is haphazardly explained, don't want to give it away if you decide to watch it. But it really is shoddy at best anyhow. Worst movie I've just about ever seen.
Still waiting for something to happen. I had high hopes, as did many, for this movie. It started brightly enough and then I spent the rest of the movie waiting for something to happen that would be thought-provoking or exciting, but it never came. The movie is shot beautifully and the characters all play the roles well, but the story meanders from one plot to another with none of them being a main focal point. The movie just seems to get lost. There are no conclusions to any of the possible stories. Then it just seems to end. Possible power struggles are left unexplored. The small man against the government, where the small man just gives up. Even the hunt for the elusive vaccine is given only a token scene. The young love against a father's wishes, where the teenagers listen and stay apart. If you want an exciting movie in this genre, then watch The Andromeda Strain or Outbreak. If you want a movie with no definitive purpose with lots of subplots that never go anywhere, but why would you then watch this?
Superficial film, and boring. I have been wondering since I saw this film. Is this film tell us something new? Is this film has a point? I haven't seen anything's just boring scenes and some stolen scenes. Yes. I think there are many scenes stolen from blindness. For example, the supermarket scene. But the difference between blindness and this film that is the blindness has a point and an idea to show. However, this film doesn't have anything to tell. With no message, also is very superficial. Maybe the Contagion film talks about contagion. To tell us how the contagion is faster than we imagine. It's really boring point in a boring film. I wonder why this film got 7 stars.
A pointless film. I went to see this film with high expectations. And it kept disappointing me. The film's start was intriguing. With some interesting cinematography and
mishmash. I can't think of any redeeming aspect in this movie to justify its ticket money. All the movie is so pale and shallow. Without even a hint of suspense building up. Millions of people are dead? Whatever. The cure is found? Whatever. Everyone knew it would happen. Move along. The brave scientist tests the vaccine on herself? Whatever. Just another 30 seconds in the movie until we move on to another pointless scene. Furthermore, parts of the movie are not even related. I'm not even sure why these scenes were shown to me. For example, what role exactly does Matt Damon's character play in the movie? Why should I care about his teenage daughter's romance? And for crying out loud, why that seems as important as the discovery of the cure itself? What can I say? YouTube is full of better directed videos done by 14-year-olds. My humble advice is to watch Andromeda Strain 1971 instead. At least that one has a soul.
Just a bad movie or propaganda. It's anyone's guess what the point of this movie was, because it's literally so bad that I have to wonder if it was simply a propaganda piece. It paints the typical picture of vaccines saving lives and pharmaceutical companies saving us all, along with the CDC. They paint one blogger as being the only outspoken person against the whole charade going on. It's similar to real life in that the CDC likes people to think they're independent of pharmaceutical companies, and the only people against them are uneducated moms and bloggers. As opposed to entire medical organizations and doctors that risk losing their license just for being honest and blowing the CDC's scam, the movie would have been more interesting had they painted a more honest picture and shown the CDC for what it really is. It would have also been better had the acting been better. It always amazes me how a movie can have so many big-name actors and be so bad.
Not very good. Boring and flat, turns the real world on its head by asking you to believe that the US government, CDC, pharmacy industry is all-knowing and completely benevolent, and doubters are evil. It's so low-key that when a solution to the film's crisis is discovered, it is so downplayed you're not even aware that it worked until much later. This kind of weak storyline happens more than once, for certain. It's not as bad as Howard the Duck, but it comes very, very close.
Huge disappointment. I rarely go out to movies on opening day. Like maybe once a year. But I decided go to this movie because the trailer looked really good, and with the star-studded cast, how could I go wrong? Well, I am very sorry I spent money to see it in the theater. I wish I would have waited for Red Box. This movie is agonizingly slow. I was bored most of the movie. It did a great job of really detailing how viruses spread and how the people behind the scenes work. But it did not engage me at all. I am sure science nerds will love it, but for me, the average American, it was just blah. With all the stars in this cast, I was hoping for some great acting. But nobody stood out. All bland and boring.